Welcome back to Advocate with Dr. Rufus Lowe, the space where truth meets courage and where we refuse to pretend that shadows are harmless just because some people prefer the dark. Remember to visit my podcast to see the full presentation of this show and others on YouTube. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Today, we're tackling a subject that sits at the heart of America's modern political crisis. Stephen Miller, his ideological roots, and the rise of racist populism or populist nationalism. This conversation is bigger than one man. It's about the architecture of an entire movement, a movement that thrives when citizens stop paying attention and allow the shadows to deepen. So let's, for a second, step into the light. The making of a nationalist strategy. We'll start there. Stephen Miller didn't appear out of nowhere. His ideological journey is a straight line from nativist literature to anti-immigrant campus activism to the halls of the Trump White House. What shaped him? First of all, early political radicalization. In high school, Miller wrote essays complaining that Latinx students spoke Spanish and that multiculturalism was a threat. College activism at Duke, he aligned himself with far-right commentators and amplified narratives of white victimhood. Partnership with Jeff Sessions, he found a mentor who believed restricting immigration based on economics, but protecting American cultural identity. In other words, Miller wasn't responding to a policy problem. He was responding to a cultural panic, one rooted in the belief that real America has a racial identity that must be protected. This is where racist nationalism begins. So next we must understand populist nationalism. Well, populist nationalism tells people three very seductive lies. You're being, first of all, replaced. Number two, your suffering is someone else's fault. And number three, only a strong leader can protect you. It takes legitimate frustrations, economic insecurity, political distrust, and redirects them toward racial scapegoats. Stephen Miller became the architect of the most aggressive version of this ideology in modern American policy. 1, ending DACA. 2, family separation. 3, refugee bans, and zero tolerance immigration prosecutions, cutting legal immigration to its lowest point in decades. It redefined America as an embattled fortress under siege, promoting the invasion narrative used by domestic terrorists. This wasn't just policy, it was ideological engineering, create a nation where diversity is framed as danger. Point number 3, the racial logic between nationalism or beneath nationalism. Let's be clear, populist nationalism is not race neutral, it is race dependent. Its emotional power relies entirely on controlling who counts as the people. Stephen Miller's rhetoric and actions consistently reveal three assumptions. 1 being America belongs culturally to white Americans. Any demographic change is framed as erosion and not evolution. Number 2, non-white immigration is a threat. It's not an opportunity, not enrichment, a threat to mythic pasts. And number 3, fear must outweigh empathy. Children in cages were not a policy failure, they were a demonstration of power. This is racist nationalism disguised as patriotism. It calls itself populism, but it operates like cultural triage, deciding which groups deserve belonging and which should remain in the shadows. Number 4, shadow tolerance and the Miller model. On this show, we talk a lot about shadow tolerance, the willingness of society to ignore or excuse the presence of evil as long as it stays hidden. Well, Stephen Miller is a case study in how shadows become policy. So let's dig into this a little bit. How does shadow tolerance operate in this case? Many Americans knew the rhetoric was xenophobic, but tolerated it because it was directed at others. They saw cruelty at the border as unfortunate but acceptable because it protected us. They avoided questioning the moral cost because questioning it would require confronting their own complicity. Shadow tolerance is not passive. It's a decision. And racist nationalism thrives when enough people choose not to look too closely. The myth of populism. One of the greatest achievements of Miller's movement was convincing economically struggling Americans that immigrant families, not billionaires, not corporations, but immigrant families, were responsible for their suffering. This is the sleight of hand of populist nationalism. It claims to speak for the people, but it functions to protect entrenched power by redirecting anger downward. Populist nationalism is not a movement of empowerment, it's a movement of distraction, and Stephen Miller is one of its master craftsmen. Where do we go from here? That's a good question. Understanding this movement matters because the ideology did not leave with the administration. Miller continues to build a nationalist infrastructure through America First legal, strategic lawsuits, media disruption, voter fear campaigns, messaging designed to keep America in a permanent state of demographic anxiety. This movement adapts, it evolves, and repackages itself, but its core remains, protecting a racial hierarchy through the language of patriotism. A call to the woke electorate. If racism or racist nationalism is built in the shadows, then the only counterforce is a citizenry that refuses to close its eyes. Being woke, well, it isn't a slur, it's a responsibility. It means staying awake to the patterns, to the power, to the historical echoes, to the manipulation of fear, to the rebranding of racism as patriotism. Shadows don't disappear on their own. They retreat only when we shine light intentionally, consistently, courageously. I'm Dr. Rufus Lowe, and this has been Advocate. Stay awake, stay courageous, and keep shining.